and then once they get what they want, they'll either ghost or tell you some crazy story about how emotionally abused they are and they're just not ready, and now they have to disappear off the face of the earth, never to be seen and heard from again. But this only happened after they slept with you, and them sleeping with you has brought up some deep inner wounding in which they just can't look at your face anymore, giving them the perfect excuse to leave. Do you see how romantic that sounds? But yet he's playing games.
Dedication, reservation, take a look inside, your salvation, do every good word, it takes patience, like a butterfly, transformation.
What is up, guys? Sophie here, and I'm back with another video. If you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like this video, don't forget to share, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can stay updated on all of my content. And don't forget to check the description box because I always put a lot of stuff in there, including the book, The Art of Seduction, because that is what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to be doing a few videos on the archetypes of the art of seduction for both men and women. This one is specifically about men. They are called the rake, and these are the type of men that are very prevalent, running around rampant in the world today, fooling a lot of y'all up out of y'all draws and running off, and then y'all wondering why. You're wondering why? This is how the rake operates. Just know that when you buy The Art of Seduction, I feel like there's a lot of good information in there. There's a lot of toxic information in there in terms of them talking about how to seduce people and finding your target and doing nonsense. If you decide to get the book, I'm not encouraging you to do something stupid. At your own risk. Y'all know what to do and what not to do, and honestly that's what we're going to talk about, the good and the bad things about the rake. And other videos, art of seduction videos, will be listed down in the description box. So let's get into the rake and what exactly the rake is.
The rake. Most women end up with men that lack passion, men that are only going through the motions, men that work all day to get home feeling exhausted, ready to watch TV and sleep. Some of these men tell their woman that they love them, but she can sense that he's just saying it. He doesn't really mean it. A rake understands the emotional pain and boredom that most women are going through. They understand that most men are just not exciting enough. Rakes are exciting because they make women feel loved and provide them with adventure. There's something off about rakes. They seem slightly evil, but this is the quality that interests women the most. Better to seem devilish than boring.
Okay, so when we talk about the rake, you know what a great example of the rake is. If you guys have watched Bridgerton on Netflix, it's a huge series. She specifically called him a rake.
We find ourselves seated beside each other. I'd like to think you're happy about that.
It would be better if you refrained from thinking about me at all. I'm aware of your reputation. I'm anything but interested in you.
And I, anything but interested in you.
They basically sleep around, use women. They're a little dangerous. They offer a level of excitement, and because of who they are, women tend to be very attracted to them. However, they tend to play a lot of games.
The ardent rake. The Duc de Richelieu had the reputation of a man that couldn't resist women. He was funny and very bold. Mademoiselle de Valois was a high-class woman, and her father wanted to marry her to a high-status man. One day, while taking a walk in Paris, she noticed a man looking at her from afar. It was the Duke. He couldn't stop looking at her, and his stare pierced through her defenses. She felt an attraction that she could not explain. She was told who he was, and to stay away from him. He was a heartbreaker, and she was a high-rank woman. She would have nothing to do with him. Right before going to bed one night, she noticed her maid coming in the room, only it wasn't the maid. It was the Duke dressed up as her. The Mademoiselle panicked. In how much trouble would she find herself if she was caught with him? She would tell him to come to his senses and leave, but it wasn't hard to change her mind. All the Duke had to do was stare at her the way he used to, and he had her. She didn't know what to do. Her emotions were telling her to let this happen, but her mind was telling her to avoid the Duke. In the end, the Duke's touch, his gaze, and the danger of it all touched her heart. They had sex that night.
Would be like the equivalent of like pickup artist games, right? And so the thing about the rake is that he knows how to wine and dine, but he doesn't mean it.
The Mademoiselle's father heard of their encounter, and he became even more overprotective. Meeting with the Mademoiselle was becoming a greater challenge, but the Duke loved challenges. He bought the house right next to theirs under a different name, and he managed to see her constantly. It was a thrill to both of them, an adventure they were never going to forget. but the Duke eventually got bored of her and moved on to his next victim.
I actually did like some videos on the book Play to Be Played, and I talked about this type of guy. If I remember, I'll put the video in there.
Let's go to the next type of player, and it is called the gambling player. The gambling player is the most deceptive of all the players when it comes to dating. The gambling player has a Vegas mentality. To him, trying to have sex with a number of women is like a dice game. The gambling players are not concerned with getting easy sex. If a woman walks up the average gambling player and simply offers him sex with no strings attached, he probably wouldn't be interested. The gambling player needs to feel that he manipulated the woman out of sex. Okay.
Because a rake is like, okay, I want to wine and dine you and give you the boyfriend experience, and I want to make you feel special, and I want to make you feel wonderful, but once I get what I got and once I get into your pants, then I'm gone. And I feel like a lot of women suffer from this because it could be a situation where they're love bombing and putting you on a pedestal and telling you how awesome you are and just playing all of these games that you don't even know are games. And then once they get what they want, they'll either ghost or tell you some crazy story about how emotionally abused they are, and they're just not ready, and now they have to disappear off the face of the earth, never to be seen and heard from again. But this only happened after they slept with you, and them sleeping with you has brought up some deep inner wounding in which they just can't look at your face anymore, giving them the perfect excuse to leave. Do you see how romantic that sounds? But yet he's playing games. And so I feel like men tend to be attracted to women with like a, I don't want to say like a void because that sounds funny, but I feel like women who they know may need some excitement in their life, women that they know who may not get out much, because then what the rake is offering, this fun and this excitement and this danger and this love bombing, is very like new to the woman, and then it's easier for him to get what he wants. And that
The ardent rake has two qualities that are irresistible to women: his reputation and his determination. Everyone in Paris knew how much women desired the Duke and how much he desired them. It became an honor to be his victim, something to be proud of. If he didn't desire you, there had to be something wrong with you. Whenever he desired a woman, he would do anything to get her. She became the center of his universe, at least for a while. No obstacle was big enough for him to give up. He would always find a way to get to his victim and seduce her. Such uncontrollable desire is extremely seductive to women.
And that's why I feel like women need to be vigilant about the type of games that men play, so that you don't end up on the receiving end of this wondering what happens, because a lot of this is just seduction strategies that are as old as time. And a lot of women are scratching their head wondering what happened, what all went wrong. I thought it was so good. I thought he loved me. I thought he was taking me here. I thought we were moving in together. I thought you thought, but it just wasn't true, because that's what some men tell people, women, not people. Some men tell women to keep you dangling on like a thread. So now we're going to get into some of the characteristics, is that they can come across as cocky, and they are probably great at sex.
The demonic rake. Gabriel D'Annunzio was a middle-class journalist that was short and ugly. Men had nothing to fear from such a man. A lot of them even began introducing him to their wives, but when he was alone with women, D'Annunzio's unattractive attitude changed drastically. He had a delightful voice that would seduce women briefly. He was poetic, and some women said his voice had a hypnotic effect. He would tell each woman exactly what she wanted to hear, and even sent them poems that seemed to be written specifically for them. There was something very sexual about him. Women felt their souls being lifted when he talked to them.
When you think of the character of Bridgerton, the man that plays that's specifically what you think is that he was very cocky, but it was more like a sexy cocky, like he was giving her hints. He was borderline inappropriate, saying little sexual innuendos, but it was like a cockiness about him, like, oh, I know this about sex and I'm gonna tell you so that you know that I know what I'm doing. It was like those type of innuendos. So I think a lot of rakes will make low-key sexual comments, or they will be very cocky. And I know for me personally, I definitely went through that phase where I was attracted to very cocky men. I still am to some extent, but I think there is a fine line between cocky and confidence. You want confidence. Cocky, you want to stay away from. Arrogance, you want to stay away from. But a rake will be very cocky and arrogant. And I think a lot of the times for women, just like for myself, is that women will mistake that arrogance and that cockiness for confidence, and that is something that they will be attracted to, because I think in many regards we expect a man to be confident, but what the rake embodies is more of a toxic masculinity.
While men are vulnerable to the visual, D'Annunzio understood that a woman's weakness is language. The demonic rake is an expert at seductive language. His words are suggestive and insinuating, and they hypnotize women by making them feel desired. D'Annunzio's way of speaking was so effective that not only did it seduce women, but large groups of people. It's important to understand that the rake's words aren't to be taken literally. They are meant to persuade and flatter the victim. The content in and of itself doesn't really matter as much. The less the targets focus on what you say and more on how it makes them feel, the more seductive your effect.
When it comes to cockiness and arrogance, and so that's not what you want, right? Another bad thing of the rake is that he gets women to compete for him. I have a video on why you should not be competing over a man. I'm going to link that down in the description box.
Whatever reason this is so prevalent among women, I feel like you barely see men doing the most, doing all of this stupid stuff and trying to overprove themselves to a woman because they are afraid of being unmarried or unsingle, because men know that they can feast off of this insecurity of women in order to get what they want, right?
If you have ever been in a situation where you have been dating a guy and you have noticed that he will accidentally mention another girl's name around you or allude to some other female or something to that effect, where you know for a fact that he wants you to know about another woman, then you need to be very wary about that, because it's not an accident. He didn't accidentally mention nobody's name. He didn't accidentally text you. He didn't accidentally text you by accident and meant to text her, and then all of that was planned. What he is getting you to do is that he is attempting to what he is trying to do is that he's attempting to get you in a competition over him by playing mind games and showing how desirable he is by accident or by some random games that he plays in order to excite your jealousy and make you fight harder for him.
Rakes are clearly dishonest and seem to lack the ability to commit to one woman, but they are seductive because they provide women with pleasure and enough danger to excite their boring lives. Relationships tend to be very exciting in the beginning, but they usually become routine, causing both partners wanting to relive the initial stages of love that brought them together in the first place. Not to say that relationships can't be exciting after the initial stage, but most men lose interest in their woman after some time, no matter how attractive she is. This is where the rake comes in. He isn't the careless husband. He is the devoted lover that these women long for, and with no strings attached. The rake offers women a break from everyday life and gives them an affair of pure pleasure.
All the while probably getting his cake and eating it too, from him, from her, and all of y'all are competing because he has put this magical spell on you guys that makes you think that he's so desirable that all of you should be chasing him, when really he's not that desirable at all. He's just running game. And so when he gets bored, you know, he will move on. And I feel like that's something that you need to know, is that if you feel like, oh, I am dating somebody like this, that he's going to settle down with me. And if he does, then he's going to cheat, right? And I hate to be like that, but that's just kind of the art of seduction when it comes to this specific personality type. And this is why you need to not try to change men, because a lot of women will try to jump through hoops in order to change a man's cheating, scandalizing, womanizing ways, when in all actuality, you should probably just let him be, because he isn't going to change. You're always going to be in an internal cycle of trying to gain or trying to earn his love, because he has now tricked you to thinking that his love is worth earning. And so you're always going to be chasing and trying to catch, doing all of these things. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're always going to be chasing him, trying to catch him, and he's always going to be doing moves and dancing. And I don't know if that makes sense. Like with the rake, and I'm pretty sure that if you have ever been with a guy like this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like they do this love bombing, they do all of this stuff, and then all of a sudden they turn cold. They try to make it seem like it's you, and then all of a sudden you're trying to do any and everything in order to make this guy like you. And that's what I said. I'm going to be shooting an FKA Twigs video today in regards to what she said about Shia LaBeouf. If that's posted, I'm going to leave it down in the description box, because that's exactly what he did. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And then
he would come, he would almost like, well, he actually would jump over the fence where I was staying and leave flowers outside my door and poems and books. And I thought it was very romantic, but that quickly changed. You know, I understand now that that's testing your boundaries. Instead of me thinking, oh, you know, that's nice to have flowers outside my door, now I think that's inappropriate to jump over the fence of where I'm living. That's breaking a boundary. But
you use the term love bombing. What do you mean by that?
putting me on a pedestal, telling me that I was amazing, over-the-top displays of affection, just to knock me off the pedestal, to tell me that I was worthless, to criticize me, to berate me, to, you know, pick me apart.
And then it's like all of a sudden he's cold and it's because he's bored with you. But when FK Twigs, she was saying like, oh, it got to the point where he said I wasn't showing him enough love, so I was like kissing him and hugging him like 20 times a day. I would.
In that relationship were when I think he felt like he was losing control of me, and I was trying to get out.
And didn't he have a request of you? You had to kiss him a certain amount of times?
Yeah, I had to give him a certain amount of sort of physical affection a day. So at first it was touches, so I'd have to like touch him and be like, are you okay? Like, I love you.
Show concern.
Yeah, are you
express
okay?
love.
You know, little things like that. And then I began to get really on top of that, and then he would say that I didn't kiss him enough.
And you never knew what that bar was?
No, I think it was around 20 touches and kisses a day. And so I'd start to panic, and you know, you lose count and the days blur into each other, and I'm thinking, it's 8 o'clock and I've got like 3 hours to do this.
I would count, because at that point you have entered the realm of his game, and him convincing you that he's so amazing that you need to go through great lengths in order to keep him, when in all actuality he's bored, he's going to cheat on you, and when he does cheat on you and then he gets caught, he's going to tell you it's because you did not love him enough. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And that is something that you don't want to get into, because then you'll always be in this mindless cycle, driving yourself crazy, trying to please a man and trying to make him stay faithful to you, when really it's not in his way to do that, to be honest. So I hope that they gave you a lot of information about the rake. So I would love to know what you guys think. Have you ever been involved with somebody that is known as the rake? If so, I would love to hear about it. I will talk to you guys another day, another time. Bye, guys.
Not ready for the show to end? It doesn't have to. You can head over to my site where you can read hundreds of articles. And also you can feel free to shop my store where I have all of my products for sale. And last but not least, for even more video content, feel free to visit my YouTube channel where I talk about a wide array of content. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and until next time, stay blessed.
Like a butterfly.